Hi everyone on YouTube, this is Hannah here. We're here with Wayne and Bob in the Artifact Conservation Lab. They're doing some pretty interesting work. Wayne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Wayne Lusardi. I'm the state of Michigan's Maritime Archeologist, and this is Bob Theiner. He's one of the Marine Sanctuary volunteers. We're in the Artifact Conservation Lab in the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center in Alpena. And today we're working on an airplane door. This came off a P-39 Airacobra that was lost in 1943. A Tuskegee Airman, Lieutenant Frank Moody, was flying this plane during a training mission out of Selfridge Field and unfortunately was involved in a bad accident. He was killed and the airplane was lost in Lake Huron, off Port Huron. About 5 years ago it was found, and then we have recently, through the state, awarded a permit to recover parts of the airplane, and ultimately they will be conserved and then exhibited in Detroit at the old Tuskegee Airmen's Museum at Fort Wayne.
That's great. And what are you doing right now? Bob, what are you doing with the tweezers?
Well, we're trying to remove all the zebra mussels that have attached to the plane door over the years. It's quite an invasive species, but we're just trying to remove as many as we can.
And what does removing them allow you to do?
It's right now, anything that is in the water is preserved because it was in the water, and so you don't want to dry it out prematurely. And so I have to put this through some chemical baths, and the different materials that are incorporated in the door, it's aluminum, there's some brass, there's iron, there's a vinyl material, there's glass and other things, and they have to be treated in different processes. The first thing we want to do is get rid of the mussels because they're inhibiting some of that treatment. I want to get them out of the door, out of fresh water as soon as possible, and put it through these chemical baths. And with the mussels on it, if they die quickly, they'll be more difficult to remove later because they'll sort of cement themselves to it. So if we can physically remove some of these first, it'll just facilitate that process.
Great. Could you explain a little bit more? Normally people think about zebra mussels as an ecological hazard to the Great Lakes, but as you're explaining here, they're also a cultural hazard.
Yeah, they definitely affect cultural materials. If they were colonized on something like this airplane or on shipwrecks, they do a lot of physical damage to it. Their weight alone tends to allow them only a certain thickness of colonization, and eventually they slough off, and when they do, they remove the underlying surface that they were attached to. And if that's a wooden shipwreck, it'll take splinters of wood off of that, and they recolonize and do it over and over and over again. If it's a metal surface like this, when they come off of it, they will bring that corrosion layer that has kind of reached a state of equilibrium on the metal, and that will re-aerate the metal surface, and it'll facilitate more corrosion. And so they do physical damage. They also do chemical damage. The nature in which the shells are made, the materials that they filter feed tend to accumulate on things, and that can be chemically damaging to artifacts as well.
Great, thank you. Is there anything else either of you would like to add about this door?
The door will probably take a few months to conserve, to get all the mussels out, to stabilize the metal and the different material types, and then again it'll eventually be dried completely, coated with some kind of preservative, and then exhibited in Detroit.
Great. So if anybody wanted to take a look at this, they could come into the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center and view it through the viewing windows of the Artifact Conservation Lab.
Yeah.
And then after it leaves here, you can find it in Detroit.
That's right.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, Wayne and Bob, for explaining your work today and for your work itself here on the airplane door.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.